Eitan Kresolewski, Maya Hilty, thanks so much for joining me.
Yeah.
So, the Forest Stewards Guild. Eitan, what does your organization mean by stewardship of the forest?
Yeah, so stewardship is an important concept. It can mean professional stewardship, people who go to college or invest their career in being a forest steward and may have degrees or certifications. It can also mean someone who has a woodlot in their backyard and manages the forest for birds or for pollinators. We keep a really broad interpretation of stewardship.
Okay.
But
And we'll probably get into some of the different programmatic areas. One that I want to talk to, Maya, you coordinate the Community Wildfire Defense Grant. Can you talk about what that is? What do you spend that grant money on?
Yeah, definitely. So for some context, the bipartisan infrastructure law enacted under the Biden administration set aside $1 billion for these community wildfire.
Billion with a B.
$1 billion. These community wildfire defense grants are intended to help communities across the nation become more wildfire prepared. So we've gotten a lot of this money in New Mexico. Tens of millions of dollars have come into New Mexico from these grants, and the Guild is just one of those recipients.
How much did you receive?
Yeah, in early last year, we received $1.3 million, and we used that funding to do a lot of things. Really, a big one is education. So we can provide free home assessments in the greater Santa Fe area. People invite us out and we'll walk around their property with them and identify, these are the top priority things you could do to reduce the risk of your home igniting during a wildfire. So those have been in really high demand. The one-on-one interaction is really great for motivating people to take action. And just anecdotally, I know that many, if not most, people do take some action to reduce their risk after a home assessment.
And those kinds of things might be, reducing the fuels around their home. What do you end up finding in these assessments?
Yeah, so a lot of it is the small things. Attention to detail is really important for mitigating wildfire risk. It might be just cleaning your roof of debris, especially in the spring before the worst of the fire season, and removing vegetation in that 5-foot buffer around your home, as well as some forest thinning depending on the property within 30 or 100 feet of the home to reduce the intensity of an approaching wildfire.
When you find these kinds of things, my understanding is the grant also goes towards cost sharing some of the mitigation that homeowner might take on?
Yeah, that's correct. So we're able to provide some financial assistance and financial incentive for people to act on our recommendations and do that forest thinning.
This is a federal grant. You mentioned it came from the infrastructure law, the bipartisan infrastructure law under former President Biden. With the Trump administration having a priority to cut federal spending, as well as the administration's approach to kind of all things climate change, is the grant at risk at all?
I'll pass that to Eitan. He might have a better answer and perspective on that.
Yeah, please.
Sure. Yeah. Wildfire mitigation and wildfire suppression funds have been fairly secure so far. And forest management is talked about by the administration as an asset to their policy goals and to their approach to fire management. Maya's program is part of that active forest management. The administration is calling for reducing fuels.
So it sounds like maybe there isn't a risk of this funding disappearing.
Well, that's my hopeful interpretation. I think it's uncertain. Just this week, we're hearing news about, the Forest Service budget, being radically changed from previous years, and also about sequestration of funds. And so it's unclear what's going to happen, but I'm hopeful that we're able to still continue this work.
What would the impact be if the funding was lost? Would you all be able to continue these efforts in another way? What would it mean for people on the ground who you're serving?
Yeah, so the Forest Stewards Guild is a nonprofit. We have other funding sources, but none of them are at the scale of 1.3 million. So it would be a pretty serious loss. And I think the first thing that would go would be the cost share program with landowners. That's something that we just don't have the funds without the Community Wildfire Defense Grant. And I will add that we offer we offer a sliding scale so that for people who show the need, we offer more cost share assistance. So we're trying to meet people where they're at, and want to make sure that wildfire defense is not something that you have to have money to do. So it's important to know. But yeah, it would be pretty catastrophic. We'd have to really go back to the drawing board and figure out what we can do.
Okay. I want to switch gears into talking about prescribed fire a little bit. It's kind of a dirty word to some New Mexicans, or at least a concerning one after the trauma experienced by, recently the Hermit's Peak Calf Canyon fire, where people lost their livelihoods, they lost their homes, they lost their land because of a federal prescribed burn or two that got out of control. So where does the Forest Guild stand on prescribed burning as a tool for stewarding the forest?
Yeah, so as an organization, we're rooted in science and traditional knowledge coming from different communities across the U.S. And, the science leads us towards using prescribed fire. The traditional knowledge, when you look at the literature, it's often place-based, also shows that, for long periods of time, people and fire coexisted on the landscape, and oftentimes, indigenous peoples, traditional communities used fire. So we have a lot of evidence to show, both from kind of Western science and from traditional knowledge, that prescribed fire is an important tool for people. Yeah.
Is it always a viable tool? Is it always an important tool that is available depending on kind of the status of the forest?
I think it depends on the ecosystem. We have ecosystems where it doesn't make sense, and we have ecosystems where it's vital. The southeastern United States burns more than the rest of the country combined. They have important pine forests, and prescribed fire is really important there, and they have a culture of burning. Our forests in New Mexico, we have a diversity of forests, and ponderosa pine, dry mixed conifer are the forest types in New Mexico where prescribed fire makes a lot of sense, because those forests evolved with fire and are fire adapted.
Mm-hmm. And talking about kind of the history of prescribed fire, the Pueblo people do have traditional knowledge and practices around this, as you were mentioning. Is that something that the Forest Guild utilizes, these traditional or cultural burning practices?
Well, we look to those sources of information to inform, what we choose to do. And, there's some great peer-reviewed scientific papers that look at traditional ecological knowledge around fire. One of them is from the Jemez Mountains, and it's pretty extensive and shows many different uses of fire and how the use of fire coexisted with fire on the landscape. And that's, I think, important. And, the Forest Stewards Guild, we also have youth crews. They're starting this week, and we have youth crews in partnership with Jemez Pueblo. And so, we're pretty tied to communities and community understanding of forests. And that's, just one example.
And you also have this All Hands, All Lands coalition. Can you talk about what that is?
Yeah, so the idea is that prescribed fire is hard, and by working together, we can make it easier, and we can help each other across jurisdictional boundaries. And so the All Hands, All Lands Burn Network, since 2018, has helped burn about 29,000 acres and across 9 different jurisdictions. Sometimes we're providing resources onto a federal burn to help with numbers or to help with qualifications. Sometimes we're leading a burn on private, state, or tribal lands. So there's a lot of flexibility to meet the different needs. And I'm really proud of the program. I think we've done good. fire can be a real benefit to the ecosystem, the watershed, and to communities for community protection.
You mentioned you do it on private land. How do is it always a state land, tribal land, or can it be a private homeowner as well?
Yeah, it can be private. We've burned piles in the winter on private lands in the Jemez Mountains up by Canjilon, and even last winter, actually 2 winters ago, right around Santa Fe, we burned on private lands right near the watershed piles, and we were right near homes. We had homeowners come to our morning briefings so that they could hear the safety briefing, the weather outlook, and see all the resources we had mobilized for those burns. And we took that pretty seriously, had a lot of pre-burn
concerns. Were people arriving concerned about what you were doing or how it could impact them?
Well, so there were concerns at the public meetings before the burns. The day of, the homeowners adjacent, they had been talking with us for several weeks, and they were on board, and we're happy that we were getting rid of the piles and that the forest was going to be in a more resilient condition. So I think it depends on who you talk to, but it felt pretty good the day of.
Maya, I want to ask you, with the recent trauma that so many people in northern New Mexico experienced around prescribed burns, what are you all hearing from community about the perception of that tool?
Yeah. So the Fireshed Coalition is very interested in understanding what people think, what they know, and what they might need to know more about. So we had this cool partnership with the Wildfire Research Center, a nonprofit that sent out surveys of city residents in 2021, and then because Hermit's Peak Calf Canyon happened, we sent out the same surveys in 2024 to see how maybe people's perceptions of prescribed fire had changed. And
so you got that kind of direct comparison, pre-Hermit's Peak Calf Canyon and post.
Yeah.
What was the change you recognized?
So as you can imagine, there was some decrease in support for, in particular, prescribed fire on public lands. But what we kind of actually interpret it as a green light to keep doing the work we're doing, because despite the decrease, the majority of people still support prescribed fire and want to see our forests become more resilient, understand that importance of that tool in order to get there. So 67% of people, even in 2024, were supportive of prescribed fire on public lands.
And is that in New Mexico, or what was your survey range?
It was just in the city of Santa Fe.
Okay. And for 67%, yes, it's the majority. It still means you have 30+% who aren't on board. To what degree is trust building a part of this work?
Yeah, super important, very important. I think that the role that we've played in the Fire Coalition, or that we're aiming to play, is helping the Forest Service, when the burns on public lands, be communicative and transparent about, where are prescribed burns planned and why are they planned? How are the prescriptions being made? What does it look like on the ground? Can we give photo point monitoring to people so they can see, 2018, this is what the forest looked like. 2019, 2020, through the forest treatments. I think visuals are really powerful and impactful. So it's just trying to leverage all the different partners involved in this work and their networks to help people understand the work itself.
And the work itself has shifted some since Hermit's Peak Calf Canyon. The Forest Service changed their policies around how these would be done. What were some of those changes, Eitan?
Yeah, so some of the changes are that, a prescribed burn only gets authorized for a 24-hour period, and then every 24-hour period has to get reauthorized by the agency. The burn plan template itself has changed, and that's for all federal agencies and everyone that follows the National Wildfire Coordinating Group standards, NWCG. So now everyone that follows that standard is using a new template. That template looks at long-term drought conditions more deeply. It also has an updated pre-ignition checklist. We also call that a go, no-go checklist that has to be done every morning to make sure that you're all a go. If you're a no on anything, it's a no-go. So that's how that checklist is used. There's increased use of infrared technology to detect for heat after a fire. And so that can be through handheld units or on a drone or on an aircraft. Also, the contingency resources, the resources that you've talked to before you started your burn, to ask them, hey, if I need help, will you come and help? And if you do come, how many people and what resources will you bring? Those contingency resources, those now essentially need to be on site for a burn. So it increases because the standard now is 30 minutes, within 30 minutes of being a call. But as we know in New Mexico, you may have to drive quite a ways to go from even, one town to the next. So it basically means resources need to be on site. So those are some of the changes. There's a few more. I think overall, for me, having seen, before Hermit's Peak, Half Canyon, and after, I think it's a better process and a better system.
Is it a system that you all use as well? Do you employ it?
Yeah, so the Forest Stewards Guild, as a private organization, we choose to follow that national standard. When we're burning on certain jurisdictions, we have the option on private lands to not use the national standard. Oftentimes we still do. It's a pretty rigorous standard, but the need for prescribed fire out on the landscape and in the forest is really high, and the national standard is very rigorous. Like I was saying, it also costs a lot of money to fully implement. New Mexico has the New Mexico Prescribed Fire Act of 2021. It creates a New Mexico standard for prescribed fire. The Guild and myself were very involved in that process. And I want to see that process be successful so that more fire can happen out on the landscape. Burning on private lands is an important piece. And so we're looking to use that state standard in the future more.
You say it's rigorous. Is it rigorous enough? Is there more needed to make sure that these kinds of prescribed fires don't get out of control in New Mexico?
Yeah, I mean, this is a super complicated, and it's also fraught with passion, emotion, and like you started with, trauma, which is very real, and I acknowledge, and it is, but at the same time, the scientific part of my brain says, well, we know that on paper, prescribed burns are very safer than a lot of the other things we do every day. They're, only, 99.2% of prescribed burns go as planned. But the other part of my brain knows that for the few that don't go as planned, there can be very high consequences, and we know that in New Mexico, and we can't afford to make mistakes, and we have to be very careful.
I think, if you don't mind me jumping in too, I always think about it in the way that we can never guarantee that a prescribed fire won't escape, but the alternative that I think drives all of us to do this work is more catastrophic and larger wildfires. So I think essentially that's the question. If you're not using prescribed fire, you're at risk of these very severe wildfires plus post-fire debris flows. So that's kind of the problem that we're all wanting to tackle.
And your organization also does preparedness plans for local governments, is that right? In addition to these assessments you were talking about with homeowners?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're called Community Wildfire Protection Plans, yet another acronym that starts with a C.
CW.
Yeah, and so Community Wildfire Protection Plans have been around for about 20 some odd years, and they've evolved over time and are getting better and better. They're an opportunity for volunteer fire departments, municipal departments, county, state. New Mexico Forestry Division is involved in all of this work too, and federal agencies to all come together and to look at maps, to identify resources and values on the landscape. Those can be homes, it could be communication towers, it could be recreation sites, it could be a ski area is obviously a value on the landscape we want to protect from catastrophic wildfire. And they develop plans that think about what are we going to do before a fire? What can we mitigate? Who do we need to hire? Do we need to have a wildland fire specialist for our county? They look at what do we do when a fire happens so that we can respond and be safe and effective. And then they also look at what should we be thinking about now so that if we get a fire, we're more prepared for that post-fire environment.
In these efforts, along with the idea around community adapted wildfires, to me it seems like almost a paradigm shift from preparedness, prevention, suppression to resilience. Like, how can these communities survive this and be prepared for a response when it happens? Is that the case? Are we shifting to wildfire being an inevitability in this climate changed world that we live in? I'd like each of you to maybe talk about that.
Yeah, I can start. So I think certainly it is a culture shift of what we want, what we dream about is a return to more fire on the land, not less. But we're talking about those low severity fires creeping through the pine needles of ponderosa forest that benefit the ecosystem rather than scorching everything. So, it's the little steps we take over time to get to a healthy relationship with fire where it's not this extreme source of fear that I see in my everyday work of people are vulnerable to wildfire and they know it. So we're trying to get back to those fires that we can live with.
Eitan?
Yeah, the community wildfire protection plans aren't going to save us. They're important and we need them and they need to be good, but we need a bigger paradigm shift, like you were saying, Nash. And the one framework for that is something that the Guild has been involved in, along with others around the country for the last 10 plus years, this concept of fire adapted communities that are resilient to wildfire, know they have risk and are actively taking steps both to live better with that risk and also learn because there's no checklist, there's no college class or something you could take to to say, okay, now I'm certified and I'm ready and I'm fully resilient to fire. It's a process and it doesn't really have an end. So that's why it's a continuous adaptation to living on these landscapes. The environment's getting hotter and drier, potentially more windy depending on where you are. Luckily, we had a lot of moisture recently in New Mexico and that helps. So these fire-adapted communities as a concept are really important to get us thinking about the long term, that we're on this long, this kind of unending trajectory of learning how to live on the landscape.
Eitan Kreslowski, Maya Helty, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks.